In today's episode,
Daily Tao, Wisdom for Clarity and Flow by Victor Odåsnac.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so if you've ever felt like, modern life is it's this constant stream of urgent but kind of low-value stuff coming at you, well, this deep dive might be just what you need. We're going to take some really deep ancient wisdom, specifically from Taoism and the I Ching, and boil it down, distill it into actual practical tools, things you can use every day to, cut through the stress, make decisions maybe a bit easier, and just find a bit more flow.
That's absolutely the goal. Application, not just theory. And the material we're drawing on from Victor Odåsnac is all about that. What's really interesting is his background engineering. He spent a lot of time in Asia. He sees the I Ching less as a mystical fortune-telling and more like structural wisdom, like a brilliant old design for helping us make sense of confusion, navigate change. It's really quite practical.
Structural wisdom. I like that. Yeah. So we're not aiming to become, armchair philosophers here. The mission is practical.
Yes.
Find those small, repeatable habits, those mental frameworks that help us move through life with, what does Odåsnac say? Less effort and more flow. Honestly, that sounds pretty good right now. Okay, so let's get into this toolkit, starting with the big one, the Tao.
Right, the Tao, or the Wei. The key thing is not to get lost in the abstractness of it. It's incredibly practical. Think of it less like a strict map and more like, like the weather of life.
Right.
Can't control the wind, right? But you can definitely see which way it's blowing, hoist your sails accordingly, put your energy where things seem to be growing naturally.
Okay, so it's observational. You stop kind of banging your head against the wall, and you look for where the energy is already flowing. But hang on, how do you avoid just rationalizing? Saying, the Tao doesn't want me to tackle this difficult thing?
Ah, that's a great question. That leads straight into Wu Wei. It often gets translated as non-action, which is frankly misleading. It causes exactly that kind of thinking. Wu Wei really means effortless action, or maybe action without strain. It's not about passivity at all. It's about effectiveness because you chose the right moment, the right approach.
Okay, give me an example, like a real-world Wu Wei moment.
Well, the source uses a neat analogy, like a martial artist deflecting a punch. There's no strain against the force, right? They just redirect it. Or think about work. You spend hours forcing some email chain that goes nowhere. That's strain. That's not Wu Wei. But spending maybe 15 minutes crafting one really clear document that actually solves the issue, that is Wu Wei. It's acting with, let's say, fit, not just brute force. It's efficiency that comes from insight.
That totally reframes burnout, doesn't it? It's not just doing too much. Maybe it's applying effort in ways that just don't fit the situation or at the wrong time.
Exactly. Precisely. And that insight leads naturally to yin and yang. They're not enemies fighting, they're partners. Think work and rest, light and dark, activity and stillness. The practical step. Just notice which one you tend to forget. If your life is all yang, all go, 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 all output, then you're missing that essential balance. You become, brittle.
And then there's Pu the uncarved block. That feels like a real challenge to our modern obsession with, polishing everything, curating our lives.
Oh, it's incredibly powerful,
Yeah.
especially if you ever grapple with, say, imposter syndrome or feeling like you have to fit some mold. The idea is the block of wood has potential before it's carved. Simplicity creates space. The text really emphasizes this. You have value before you try to shape yourself into what you think others want. And the practice, it sounds almost too simple. Try less today. Fewer apps, maybe? Fewer plans, fewer options. Give your actual self room to breathe.
Try less to achieve more. Okay, and the last core principle here is about resilience. Softness beats hardness.
Yeah, think about nature. Water's soft, right?
Right.
But over time, it shaves solid rock. It's persistent, gentle action. An oak tree stands rigid in a storm, and it might snap. Bamboo bends, and it survives. It challenges that idea that strength always has to look like force.
Okay, philosophically, that makes sense. But let me push back a bit on the application. If I'm, say, trying to negotiate a raise or end a really difficult relationship, softness sounds like giving in. How does softness work in a direct confrontation?
That's a really important distinction. Softness isn't weakness, it's flexibility. So in that negotiation, digging your heels in with a rigid demand, that's hardness. Softness is being able to listen, to really hear the other side's underlying need, and then maybe pivot your approach without giving up your goal. It's patience, it's persistence. With a toxic relationship, ending it with anger, with force, often just creates more drama, right? But using patient, clear, consistent boundaries, that's soft in a way, but firm, unbreakable, that often achieves the separation more effectively, more stably.
Got it. So it's about flexibility, not just being passive. That pivot is crucial. Okay, that brings us nicely from these big ideas into, well, the doing part. The micro rituals. We need those tiny things, repeatable things that don't feel overwhelming but can actually create lasting change, like ripples in a pond.
Exactly, and these are designed to be quick, to fit into a packed day, but still apply those core Taoist ideas. Like start the morning with the 3 breaths to begin. Seriously, before the phone, before anything else. Just 3 slow breaths. Maybe inhale 4 counts, hold for 1, exhale for 6. Takes, what, 30 seconds?
30 seconds to shift from just reacting to actually setting an intention.
Yeah, and maybe add a 1-word intention, like open, or clear, or focus. Simple. Then take something you already do, like having coffee or tea, and turn it into a small ceremony. The tea or coffee is ceremony. For just 2 minutes, maybe 5. Just sip. Feel the warmth. Focus only on that. It grounds you. It's applying simplicity by cutting out the multitasking for just a moment.
That pause. Yeah, I can see how that could make the rest of the morning feel less frantic, more intentional.
And then later in the day, to avoid those knee-jerk reactions, there's the transition reset, the breath in check. So between meetings, or maybe before you fire off a reply to a tense email, just 4 slow breaths. Then ask yourself 2 quick questions. Is this necessary? And is this kind?
Oh, I like that. That's Wu Wei right there, isn't it? Checking for effectiveness and consideration stops you jumping into something messy.
Right. And finally, to really close off the day, create a real release. The evening 1-sentence journal and letting go ritual. Just write 1 sentence about the day. A win, maybe a lesson learned, or something you just need to let go of. The Tao really values letting go, remember. Then actually do something symbolic. Put the note away, tear it up, whatever feels right. It stops tomorrow's worries from creeping into your sleep. It keeps your mental space uncluttered. That's Scoos again.
What I really appreciate about these is the gentleness. Like the 2-minute rule for habit building. Start so small you literally can't say no.
Yes. And if you miss a day, which happens, right? Just smile, acknowledge it, and carry on tomorrow. Beating yourself up is just friction. Gentleness is like the lubricant for Wu Wei. You're using flexibility on yourself, not force, to build discipline.
Okay, so we've got these tools for internal flow. Now let's shift to navigating external decisions using the I Ching. The material is quite clear. This is not a fortune-telling vending machine. It's more like an ancient coach, maybe a mirror.
Yeah.
Its real power seems to be in helping us ask better questions, right?
Absolutely. When we're stuck, we tend to ask these anxious yes-no questions. Will I get the job? Will this work out? The I Ching invites a different approach. Instead of, will I get the job, a better question is something like, what should I understand about pursuing this opportunity? Or what kind of preparation would be most helpful right now? See how it shifts the focus? From just wanting an outcome to understanding the situation and taking appropriate action.
Okay, the source gives a diagnostic framework for decisions, which sounds really useful. Let's walk through it. Say someone, let's call her Alex, is thinking about a big move to another city for a relationship. How would she use this?
Okay, perfect example. So the framework has 4 steps. 1, clarify this situation. Alex needs to frame the question clearly. Not should I move, but maybe, what is the underlying energy or pattern regarding moving to city X for this relationship right now? 2, read the present state. She consults the I Ching, maybe using the coin method we'll mention, and gets a hexagram. Let's say she gets hexagram 3, which is often called difficulty at the beginning. Okay, that's the current landscape. Not necessarily bad, but it signals challenges, obstacles right at the start. It's a status report. 3, look for movement. This is crucial. When you cast the coin, some lines you get will be changing lines. These suggest where things are shifting, the likely trend or transformation. If Alex's hexagram 3 has a changing line, say in the 5th position, the I Ching text offers specific advice related to that changing aspect. Maybe it advises finding a helpful guide or mentor in the new city. 4, use micro steps. Based on this, the I Ching rarely advises huge leaps. If the reading points to initial difficulty, hexagram 3, and needing guidance, Alex doesn't just pack her bags tomorrow. She takes a micro step. Maybe she plans a visit first. Or she reaches out to connect with someone local, like the changing line suggested. She tests the waters, acts in line with the guidance, but without full, irreversible commitment yet.
Okay, that makes it much more practical. So the changing lines are kind of the dynamic part, the forecast, and the rest is the stable background, the present situation. You get the landscape and the immediate weather forecast.
Exactly. It's all geared towards thoughtful, well-timed action. And the coin method itself, super simple. 3 coins, toss them 6 times, add up the values, heads are 3, tails are 2. That determines each line of the hexagram, bottom to top. Sums of 6 and 9 are those changing lines. It's a nice, simple ritual to just pause the mental chatter and get some perspective.
Right. Which brings us to the 64 paths to personal growth. The source presents these almost like micro lessons or even life hacks drawn from the hexagrams, perfect for when you need a quick insight or intervention.
Yeah, they distill the essence of each hexagram into a core insight and a really concrete practice you could literally do, like today.
Okay, let's hit a few key ones. Give us the insight and the practice.
Sure, let's take hexagram 1, the creative. Insight. Genuine creative energy just moves. It doesn't apologize or wait for everything to be perfect. Practice. Do one creative thing today without overthinking it. The example in the text was Alex, who was stuck on a blog post just hitting publish even though it wasn't perfect. That small act broke the logjam.
And its opposite, hexagram 2, the receptive.
Insight here is that real power often lies in making space, in yielding, not just asserting. Practice. Let someone else take the lead today in some situation without interfering. Just observe. You might discover where you usually jump in unnecessarily.
I think hexagram 5, waiting, must be one of the toughest for our culture.
It really is. The insight is that right timing isn't passive, it's active observation, it's precision, practice. Delay one non-urgent decision by just 24 hours, just one day. Ask yourself, am I trying to force something here that isn't actually ready?
And dealing with all the noise and, well, junk input in modern life. Hexagram 27, nourishment.
Yeah, this one's broad. Insight. What you consume, food, media, thoughts, the company you keep, it shapes your whole being. Practice. Replace one junk input with something genuinely nourishing. The example was Tara swapping her morning doom scrolling for just a 5-minute walk outside. The shift in her anxiety, apparently, was noticeable almost immediately.
It's always those tiny shifts, isn't it? Those micro steps building resilience.
Absolutely. Which connects nicely to hexagram 52, keeping still like a mountain. Insight. Stillness isn't emptiness. It's presence without the panic. Practice. Literally be silent and still for 1 full minute, maybe before responding to that stressful text or email. That tiny pause creates space between stimulus and response. You respond from wisdom, not just reaction.
Wow. Okay, this has been incredibly helpful, really clarifying. So if you're listening, you should now have, well, a kind of toolkit, right? For moving through life with maybe a bit less friction, a bit more awareness, maybe even some grace. The Tao isn't something you suddenly master. It seems more like something you just remember through these tiny actions. A breath, a pause, a small choice.
Exactly. And remember that combination. The poetic, reflective insight from the I Ching combined with a really practical checklist or microstep. When you stop demanding just yes/no answers and start asking those better, more exploratory questions, decisions feel less like huge dramas and more grounded, more manageable.
So Victor Odåsnac makes this point. Good fortune returns to those who remain calm and detached. We've talked a lot about practices for calmness, the breath, the rituals. That next step seems to be about detachment. So here's something to think about as we wrap up. What single grudge or maybe expectation or pressure you put on yourself? What one thing could you choose to just let go of without a big fuss right now? Just drop it. To find a little bit more of that calm detachment. Something to mull over. We'll see you on the next deep dive.